Today, a diet that is gaining huge buzz and momentum, the paleo diet. Now, followers say they are shedding drastic amounts of weight and are warding off debilitating diseases. But what's the trick? You have to eat like our Stone Age ancestors. If you think that means eating hunks of meat off the bone, or if this sounds like man food, well, think again. Even I was surprised to learn what it means to eat paleo. It spawned dozens of books, nearly all bestsellers, and hundreds of blogs, message boards, and magazine articles. So what has everyone so excited about a diet based on caveman and Stone Age times? The paleo diet promises you'll easily lose your unwanted pounds, and it could ward off debilitating diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and even some cancers. Dr. Loren Cordain, a researcher of evolutionary medicine, has spent his career studying the diet of our ancestors and spun the phenomenon into motion. He focused on the connection between living off the land and longevity. Dr. Cordain believes eating wild plants and animals is your prescription for optimum health. Dr. Loren Cordain, author of The Paleo Diet, and Nell Stevenson, author of Paleoista, are here. Dr. Cordain, you argue that every single woman in America ought to be on the paleo diet. And what is it about the paleo diet that excites you as a scientist? Why should it work when so many other diets have failed America?
It's got many characteristics that combine all of the best ideas we've ever had about nutrition. So, for one, it's a high-protein diet, a low glycemic load diet, and we know that those characteristics of diet are perhaps the best way to get weight off and to keep it off. Secondly, it's very high in fruits and vegetables that contain healthy phytochemicals, vitamins, and minerals, which tend to promote immune function and make us a lot healthier. It's also very high in long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, which help to calm down inflammation. And there are multiple characteristics beyond that, but those are the major ones.
So Nell, show us what kinds of foods are on the paleo diet. I brought some samples here. Just walk us through what would typically be on this diet.
Yes, absolutely. Lovely protein. We have free-range poultry, grass-fed meats, wild salmon, local organic produce, lots of veggies and fruit, and then healthy fats from coconut oil, olive oil, and avocado, and also some raw nuts in moderation.
So if I compare this to a typical low-carb diet, and there are several out there now, how is this different?
To be clear, it's not the Atkins diet. You're not walking around all day eating hunks of bacon and pieces of cheese. It's actually really balanced, and you're getting a nice amount of local produce in every meal.
Well, I must say, I often thought the paleo diet was Fred Flintstone.
Yeah.
Taking that big hunk of meat that rolled over his car.
Exactly.
So I see the meat part of it, but for example, there's no dairy on here. Is dairy in this program?
No, there are no inflammatory foods. So there's no dairy, no grains, no legumes, no refined sugars. Basically, everything you're eating should be whole, fresh food, nothing in a package or a wrapper. And the reason I say that is because most of the things you're going to find in a wrapper are highly processed.
Well, let me ask Dr. Cordain a question. We'll have a seat here. When I come back to this idea of the paleo diet, and I've been asked about it so much recently, I'm generally surrounded, even in my own case, by misconceptions. People trying to explain it to me, but not quite getting it right. So what's, in your opinion, because you're probably the world expert in this diet, what is the biggest misconception about the paleo diet?
Well, thank you for the nice compliment. But I think probably the biggest thing that people think is that it's a fad diet. And if it is a fad diet, it's the longest living fad we've ever had. It goes for 2.5 million years up until about 10,000 years ago.
You argue actually that it helps reduce heart disease, helps reduce diabetes, high blood pressure. These are big claims. Is there really enough data to back that up? You even challenge the concept that the Mediterranean diet may not be as healthy as this.
That's absolutely right. If we look at the endpoints for cardiovascular disease, we can look at blood pressure, we can look at blood cholesterol. Paleo diet is superior to those in the 7 or 8 randomized controlled trials.
So now let me reduce this to practice, because the big question for most of our viewers is, can I lose weight on this diet?
Absolutely.
So how much, and how long, how difficult?
I've seen in some cases people have lost tremendous amounts of weight, sometimes 75 pounds in about 6 months. Granted, it's going to depend on how much weight somebody has to lose in the first place. If you're somebody who's trying to lose that post-baby weight and you've got that last 10 pounds, it may not be as dramatic, but it will be slow but steady.
So Nell practices paleo with her clients, and I'd like, if you can, walk us through the 5 rules you argue we have to appreciate in order to truly practice the paleo diet.
Sure.
So rule number 1, and we're going to build a plate for everybody, is to understand what foods are in this and how much of these foods. So build me a paleo plate if you don't mind.
Absolutely, and it's really simple. So first we're going to start with a plate, and we're going to add about 2/3 fresh veggies. The more variety, the better. The more color, the better. Then we're going to add roughly a palm-sized amount of protein. And again, variety is good, local, organic. And then we're going to add a little bit of a healthy dollop of fat and some fruit. That's the balance. That's the fruit, the plate that you should look at for every meal in the day.
All right, so normally when I give advice, I say 7 fistfuls of fruit and vegetables. I don't divide them up, yet you actually specifically say, a little bit more than half of your plate needs to be vegetables, and you make the fruit portion much smaller. Why is that?
Yeah, the reason is really simple. If I don't specify to clients to make the fruit part of it, they tend to eat only fruit and eat fruit all day long and no veggies. And I really want to stress how important it is to get lots of veggies into your diet.
Even more than the fruits?
Yes, definitely.
All right, so those of you who eat big bunches of bananas and you think that counts, you're actually saying we be a bit more rational about
Balance, exactly.
Inflammatory foods. They're not in there. So what are they? Define what we can't eat that's inflammatory.
So the inflammatory foods are all grains, all dairy, all legumes, and that's beans, including soy and peanuts, and all refined sugars. So basically, it's nothing in a wrapper.
Yeah, I must say, I tell people all the time to eat 100% whole grain foods, to have legumes, beans, which I always thought was a pretty good source of protein. I mean, that's on your don't touch list?
Exactly.
I mean, that's great. The obvious question I've got to ask is, what about vegetarians? Weren't prehistoric men and women primarily vegetarians?
Actually not. The data from our laboratory, we've looked at 229 hunter-gatherer societies, and it shows that the average meat intake was about 55% of calories, and the balance came from plant foods.
You are kidding me.
Nope.
So prehistoric humans were primarily meat eaters, despite what we might think, according to what you're telling me.
That's exactly what the science is showing, and so it's kind of reversing some of these concepts that we've had over the years.
I want to have you call my wife right after the show. You can break the news to her. All right, no calorie counting. Maybe the best news of all. Why not bother counting calories?
Well, let's just be straight. I'm not recommending that people sit down and have 5 steaks at one sitting or eat 10 bananas. The idea is if you follow the paleo plate template through all your meals during the day, you're going to have small, balanced meals. Your energy level is going to be through the roof. You're not going to have those blood sugar spikes and crashes, and everybody can identify with that, and they get busy and end up eating the rest of their children's goldfish crackers. Right. So we want to be, you're actually going to be ahead of that curve and keep everything balanced, so you're not going to actually be in a position where you're going to want to get those junky foods in the first place. And if you do, overdo it on a little bit too much broccoli, it's not going to be the worst thing.
No, probably a good thing. All right, The fourth rule, we're getting to the end here, is to eat breakfast that's more like your dinner.
Exactly.
Now, why is that such an important issue?
Well, most of us are raised with the idea that breakfast is a grain festival. So we're doing refined carbohydrates in the form of bagels and cereals. We need to throw that out the window because it's not getting us anywhere. So ladies, don't be afraid of meat for breakfast. Take advantage of leftovers from dinner. Maybe use some of the leftover steak in your breakfast. Take the chicken, take the turkey, have that as part of your breakfast. It's really, really important.
In fact, anything really that you have on this table right here could be a reasonable breakfast alternative rather than what we've gotten accustomed to.
Absolutely.
All right, and the fifth rule, listen very carefully, this is a favorite part for many of you, is you get to have 3 cheat meals a week. Now, how are cheat meals part of any kind of a program?
Well, this is the idea, and to be clear, I do recommend everybody gives it at least a 30-day try. I think it's less daunting that way, so you can really reap the benefits of it. But if you think about the fact that we're eating 21 meals per week, and if you have 3 of them as non-paleo meals, if that's part of your process to get paleo, then that makes it more approachable for a lot of people. Try the 30 days, see how you feel, and then if you want to test something afterwards and see how your body reacts, you might actually find that lots of the things you've eaten all the time are actually making you feel quite ill.
We are back with a modern take on the paleo diet, and we put together meals that can help you shed the pounds and ward off disease without hunting for slabs of meat in your camouflage. Nell Stevenson is back with meals every woman can make. So just remind everyone real quickly about this paleo plate. What should be on the program?
So again, don't forget, it's 2/3 vegetables, and then roughly a palm-sized amount of protein, a nice healthy dollop of fat, and some fruit. So
easy to make. We're going to start off with the breakfast today.
Yes.
Show you what you can do. And again, the whole point here is you can go hunting for food in your high heels. You don't have to put camo on.
Exactly. So again, ladies, don't forget, protein is going to boost your metabolism. You may have already been eating a paleo breakfast without even realizing it. This is a paleo version of steak and eggs. Throw in some veggies and you're set.
All right, and they've got a smoothie here?
Yes. This is one of my favorites, and I recommend it for clients that are moms on the go. I make it out of tea instead of traditionally would have been milk. throw some spinach in, different herbs and spices that are also have their own health benefits. And Dr. Oz, it has eggs in it, but you can't taste it, I promise.
You put eggs in your smoothie?
Yes. You got to have the protein, and you'll love it. Taste it.
Who wants to taste eggs in their smoothie?
Cheers.
Nobody? Cheers. Did you cook the eggs?
You can actually soft boil them. You can use raw eggs, or you can use pasteurized liquid egg whites. Whatever is easiest for you.
Right.
I think it's good. You just taste the blueberries.
No, you're right. You can't taste the eggs.
Exactly.
That might be a bad thing. I can't taste them, but it's good.
Good.
All right. Walk us through a typical lunch in the paleo diet.
Okay, this is a paleo version of a Cobb salad. So you don't have the blue cheese dressing, you don't have the bacon, you have just crisp turkey. You can use leftover turkey from last night's dinner, a nice olive oil mustard dressing. And then this is really always a hit with the kids because you may be wondering and thinking, oh, it's going to be plain, boring chicken, missing that crunch. But you can actually use breaded chicken, but instead of using the flour or cereal, you use walnuts.
Perfect. Dinner.
Yeah.
The dinner is that these look like pretty traditional meals that you normally eat.
Exactly, and I've heard from a little bird that you love blackened salmon, so that's
I do.
paleo. Paleo blackened salmon with a nice little mango salsa and some rapini. And then you might be wondering, what about if you're a pasta lover and I still eat spaghetti? Squash. So spaghetti squash, super easy to make if you haven't seen it before.
All right, now, the part that I think folks will be surprised by, because I am, is desserts.
Yes.
And I know, and you talked about 3 cheat meals a week, but these actually aren't even cheat meals.
No, there's definitely a place for a paleo treat once in a while. These are paleo truffles, and I make these when I'm hosting a dinner party as a parting gift. And if you find chocolate ideally higher than 85%, I actually like the 99%. And if you take chocolate, coconut oil, almond butter, and a little bit of honey or agave, they're delectable.